What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Unemployable. Today, we had a really wide-ranging discussion. I'm here in Bali, so I talked about my experiences in Bali, some of the extraordinary people that I'm meeting here. I shared what it was like meeting Matt Cameron, the new famous Instagrammer from Australia. I talked about some of the incredible young people that I've met out here who are building multi-million-dollar businesses without any of their own money. How much hope that it has given me and the entire crew here on the future of young people in business, entrepreneurship, and making money. We then turned our attention to the fortunes that are getting made by people who understand how to learn and are using Grok and ChatGPT to arbitrage and identify opportunities that most people don't see. We share one particular guy who grew $20,000 to $60 million by becoming an expert in a very narrow field of study, front ran Wall Street, and became a multi-millionaire. It's a really interesting session. I think you're going to love it. Remember, like, and please hit that subscribe button. Still, more than 40% of you are not subscribed to the channel. I think you get so caught up in how handsome the four of us are that you forget to do that one important thing. So if you can just drag yourselves away from our extreme good looks and hit that subscribe button, we'd really appreciate it. With that said, guys, have a great week and we'll see you on the next one. All right, boys. I tell you what, it's a good thing we don't record the preamble because we would get arrested for the shit we talk about before we roll tape. But welcome to the pod. Another week has flown by. I can't believe we're recording another Friday session. I am, of course, in Bali. I've got the shirt to match the background today, boys. Do you appreciate that?
We didn't before. That was what I was laughing was about. But go on.
all I can see is the Unemployable hat.
So let's kick it off. So, of course, we have an all-time high with Bitcoin this week. So huge shout out to all our Bitcoiners around the world, those of you that have invested in the apparently worthless world of Bitcoin. You are crushing it, which is fantastic. Mad congratulations to you. And Mark,
can I quickly just tilt my camera one sec? Hang on.
You can look at a stack of Bitcoin.
Wow.
He's got the neon sign.
So for those of you who are on Spotify, he's just pointed the camera up to his wall. There's a big glowing bee on the wall, his Bitcoin bee. So Mark is a Bitcoiner.
I think that's what you call conviction.
Yeah, exactly.
just slightly.
What you call Etsy.
So Mark, also, we're going to touch later on it, but Mark's trading challenge, he started, what date did you start, Mark?
Around about 9th of July.
9th of July, we're now nearly the 9th of October, in a couple of days from when we're recording, and the result is you're up 150%, is that right?
150%, yeah. 10K is now 25K so far.
Unbelievable. If you want to follow Mark and see what he's doing, get the trades, how do you follow you, Mark? Just let's do a little plug for stuff.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, go to my website. So it's Mark Dipaola, so MarkDipaola. You can see it up there on the screen, .com.au, and you'll see it as soon as you get to the homepage. 10K challenge, subscribe. And basically, I give you daily updates each day that I make a trade. And you'll see why I'm making trades, and I'll do a little macro update and things like that. So yeah, it's fun. And I'm encouraging people to join along at home. So I want as many people now to kind of join along and then screenshot me their results. And I'm going to have a leaderboard with, hopefully you guys will join along too. Maybe Adam, you could even use the your account that you're using, and we just have a leaderboard and see who wins in percentage terms.
I love it. I think it's great. And I think everybody who's, listening and is interested in trading, what's great with what Mark's doing is he's revealing the actual trades. And so you can actually follow along a paper trade with him.
On a live account too, massive difference. There's a lot of BS in the marketplace, having been around it for quite a while. Mark's actually got the real skin in the game too. So that's a whole other layer of
conviction.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's been a wild ride, Mark, right? I mean, the market's been choppy as hell. I've been watching along with you, Datelin, got trading count, the whole lot going on, and it hasn't been a straight bottom left, top right at all.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I was good to watch.
I was going to share screen later, but I can quickly share screen now.
Throw it up now. I'll throw it into the mix so people can see it.
I want to say one thing. All this trading talk and Bitcoin talk and the rest of it, I am really, really liking it because like today I get another phone call on one of my properties that the ceiling fan caught on fire. So I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I said it to the property manager. I said, you know what, Luke? Because I was just in the middle of 5 different things. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fucking sell every single property I have. I'm putting everything into Bitcoin, and whatever happens, happens. And I'm not going to get one phone call. That's what I said to him. And he starts laughing. He goes, man, honestly, he goes, they're only small growing their management business. And they're like, we've got 65 managements. And this morning I've had 5 phone calls of problems already. And I'm just like, oh man.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
You'd rather Bitcoin on fire than those fucking fans, huh?
and not to mention, Eric calls me this morning. He says, "Hey, do you realize we've got 4 rates notices to pay?" I'm like, "Fucking hell!" So you had fans on fire, rates notices to pay, land tax. It's a joy.
Enjoy, guys. I love making the government rich. It's the best.
I mean, I in the podcast that I did this week, I spoke about house prices as well, right? Like since COVID in the US, house prices are up 55%. But if you look at them versus Bitcoin, they're down 85%. And then if you look at CoreLogic's Australian forecast for house prices, you know, our house prices are set to grow by 9.4% year on year. That's before all the fees that you're talking about get taken out. They're putting we talk about this all the time. They're putting 8% more money into the system every year. Yeah. You got 2 to 3% inflation. Your hurdle rate is 11%, right? And I think the more that you expose yourself to the space, Eric, like you're doing, looking at Bitcoin, talking about Bitcoin, gold, but talking about all assets, you actually realize the game that's going on that is hidden from view unless you're focusing on it.
Correct.
And so
I'm just glad I kept buying, and I still keep buying, you know. It's just, if I didn't, I would have regretted it so much. But like, there's a part of me that's really, really thinking about just, you know what, let's sell a couple properties and just dump it into Bitcoin and forget about it. You know, like just my gut is really starting to talk to me about this.
Yeah, I mean, you can start getting an income off Bitcoin. There's all the different, there's every different DeFi platform coming up. You can get a decent sort of returns from it. Like Adam Livingston, one of the guys we followed, he's just pumped another thing. We saw, I was watching a Metaplanet thing over the weekend. Firefish, multi-sig DeFi platform. You can get 50% LVR, so you can borrow against Bitcoin now. It's becoming more and more like real estate. It's got income. You can lever against it. I mean,
I met the Firefish guys actually in Prague. And had a good chat to them, and it's peer-to-peer. So it's very interesting because you can go there if you want to lend money. And for those who haven't heard this before, because many people are just listening for the first time, let's say you're a retiree and you've got $100,000 that you're looking for a return on, and the bank's offering like 4% as a term deposit. You can go to Firefish and say, I will lend 100 grand to Bitcoiners, and I want 10%. There's a marketplace, so you can literally post what return you want and how long you want to lend it for. And what Firefish is, on the other side, they have Bitcoiners who put their Bitcoin into Firefish and they put it into a smart contract with your interest component bundled into it. And then at the end, the only way that contract gets dissolved is when all of your capital comes back with your interest payment. And if Bitcoin drops in price, they can just liquidate the Bitcoin and you get 100% of your capital and your interest back straight away. So it's all done in a smart contract. So there's literally no risk, which is incredible.
Exactly. So Firefish, I just looked at just before Literally came on, Firefish go tits up and run for no problem. Not the Celsius or a BlockFly or any of those things where everyone just got torched 2 or 3 years ago. So
it's very interesting, right? Because, and this is what the world's starting to understand. Mark, we'll come back to your trading, but this is when you hear a Bitcoiner say, especially like institutionally minded people who understand it, they say that Bitcoin is the world's best collateral. And what they mean by that is that it's liquid 24/7. Like you can sell it 24/7, Saturday morning, 2 a.m., anywhere in the world, you can sell it. And so when somebody lends money against Bitcoin, which I'm considering doing as a lender, because I used to do first mortgage lending. I pulled all my money out now, but you're basically lending against a piece of real estate. But if the deal goes bad, you've got to take the real estate and you've got to sell the real estate, and then you've got to pay the agents and pay all the fees. Now you'll come out ahead. If you've done it well, you would have had plenty of equity in the property, but it's a process. Whereas if you lend against Bitcoin, the platform or the smart contract will immediately liquidate the Bitcoin. The money gets wired straight to you. You got literally no counterparty risk, which is just bananas.
And this is how much I think that the community supports it. If you were to buy, let's say, have 100 grams worth of Bitcoin, and you want to borrow 50 grams worth of Bitcoin, so Bitcoin against your Bitcoin, the interest rate now, floating rate variable on Bybit, I think it's about 0.65% per annum. So it costs you $650 a year. Oh, sorry, half that. So it's $75 a year to borrow 50 grams worth of Bitcoin for the year.
That's crazy.
It's nothing. I mean,
it's free money.
It's free.
Yeah, it's free money.
Free.
Mark, let's jump in just to see this chart, and we'll move on, because your point's well taken. A lot of times people hear this return 150%, and it might be an opportune time right after just to talk about the trading that we've been doing with our partners in Dubai. But it's never a straight line. So this is Mark.
It's like that meme. It's like that meme that you see on social media all the time when it says what they think success looks like, and there's a straight line up and to the right, and then what it actually looks like, and you got all those pitfalls and those, I mean, that's what it looks like. We were up nearly 70%, then I was down 25-30%, and then up, and then almost back down to break even. Like that. That's what it looks like. And I'm not saying that everyone should go out there and invest this way, because there are ways to get more steady returns, invest in less volatile things. But I think the important thing for people to realize is that you can do 150% in a couple of months trading. I've got another account that's 150 grand that's now up 150% as well. It's 400 grand, right? And I'm running that concurrently. But the point I like to get across as well is we are in a really interesting time. We're in a time where there's a transition from one system to a new one. And it's like the reindustrialization with AI and the changing over of finance from fiat to Bitcoin. It's all happening all concurrently at the same time. And in those transitions, there's always volatility, right? But if you can get used to volatility, right? If you can get used to the volatility, and Adam, you can probably say a couple of words on this, being someone who's held Bitcoin since 2017, the rewards, you can actually front run the big institutions, right? Like you're seeing Ray Dalio now, say that people should have some Bitcoin in their portfolio. He wasn't saying that in 2017 or 2021, and retail had the opportunity to front run that, right? And so big organizations, they're really, really slow to move, and you have an advantage being a little guy. You can be nimble and you can act on things that have a smaller market cap and things like that, right? But you've got to do your own research. You've got to make sure that you know what you're investing in, and you've got to be able to suffer the volatility. But there's so much opportunity. I think this is the biggest opportunity over the next 2 to 3 years. This is the biggest opportunity to use AI to research and invest is the opportunity. And we started as a business show, but we keep talking about this as an opportunity because I think it is. You're in a transition.
The volatility, like I always say, but you get paid extremely well if you're in the right things. Like AIWP, the trading group that we have, James, you were in on this trade, and I was in on this trade. And a lot of our clients were in on this trade that opened 2 weeks ago, and then it just, they entered the trade when ETH was at 4,600, and it was a call trade. So it drew down to 3,900 in a week. $1 billion of shorts were liquidated that week. One of the worst weeks this cycle for any of the major cryptos. Our clients didn't even get close to being liquidated, but they were down on the portion of the fund that got invested heavily. And some people freaked out. And I sent out an email going, look, guys, relax. These guys have been doing it for years. They've never had a down month. Just let them do what they're doing. We'll be fine. Just go to the beach, enjoy it, don't look at it. And now, 2 weeks later, half of our clients have closed out yesterday. I looked this morning, I'm up 27,000 US net, which is about a bit over 10% on 2 weeks on my account. But, we went down that much or more. Actually, I went down more than that, and then we're up. And it's just learning to manage volatility and just making a decision once and believing and waiting.
It's worth pointing out as well that program that you guys are using is using leverage, right? And the 10K challenge that I'm doing I'm using leverage. It's not the same kind of leverage. I'm using options, but we're also at a time in history where these leverage products, so options and 10x leverage or whatever it is within this program, they're reaching a tipping point. Like, they're reaching a critical mass now, where they used to be fringe products. Now, because of Robinhood and interactive brokers and all these platforms, these technologies are now accessible to us retail traders as well. So I think we're at the beginning of a renaissance in trading and investing. And so let's see where it goes, right? But if you can learn to use these tools, there's just so much upside possibility and opportunity.
And just to mention there for everyone, and there's also so much downside risk.
You can lose all your money.
They're a double-edged sword. It's not all fucking rainbows and butterflies.
James, that's the definition of asymmetry, right? There's complete downside, but there's also infinite upside, right?
All right, so moving on, I want to just I'm in Bali, as you guys know, and it's been a really enlightening week being here. Like, I've been everywhere, as you guys know, who've been watching the pod for a while, obviously you guys on the show. But I want to correct something that I said something last week on the pod that bothered me almost as soon as it came out of my mouth, but it's bothered me in the days after as well. And I think what I said was words to the effect that, I feel sorry for young people today because the opportunities that we had do not exist for them. And it was a pretty bleak statement. And when I got into Bali, because I'm much closer to Australia, there's a lot of Australians here. And so my DMs have all of a sudden lit up with Aussies that are in Bali going, hey, I'm in Bali. Can we catch up? Can we have a coffee or whatever? And I've been trying to say yes as much as possible. And the first meeting I had was with these two young guys at Milk and Maddo, which is a really trendy little cafe. And they were two young guys. One was 20 and one was 28. They got a finance business in Adelaide. And I sat down with these guys, and they're just straight hustlers. They listen to the pod every single week. They're in the finance game. They've been at it for 4 years. They help people get finance for their homes. And I just came away from that meeting just feeling so optimistic about young Australians again. And I'd kind of gotten cynical. And I really want to apologize to the audience unreservedly for that, because it just gave me so much hope that there are good opportunities and good things happening out there. And then I had last night a meeting with the guys, Eric, you've met them, the guys from the Ventor group.
Yep.
And mate, these guys are in their 20s and they've built several boutique hotels. They've got 2 on the go, one in Cape Town, one on the beach here in Bali at the moment. And what they basically do is they create the most Instagrammable locations possible, whether it's a boutique hotel, a spa, a bar, whatever. And then they raise funds from influencers and investors generally. And then they open these venues with millions of social media followers, eyeballs on there. And it's just incredible what these guys have done. They've got, I think, nearly 400 staff now, and they're not even 30 yet. And I was just sitting with them last night, just blown away. And I just wanted to say, we've said it on the pod many times, never let money be the reason that you're not getting ahead. These guys are doing it all with other people's money, raising, siloed funds, millions of dollars at a time to build a boutique hotel, which everybody can share in. And I just came away from the meetings just absolutely inspired by them, and just want to encourage young people out there. There is huge opportunity out there if you've got the brains and the creativity and the right people around you.
It all boils back down to one simple thing, which we talk about all the time, and it's underneath your cap and my cap right now, right? Yeah. Idea, capital, execution. What those boys are doing is idea and execution at its finest. Right? There's more capital out there than what they need, and they are really handpicking the type of capital and the people that they want to involve into these types of deals. So what people need to decide is, where are you at in the triangle, right? Are you the ideas person? Are you the executor? Are you the capital? Do you have 2 out of 2, 2 out of 3, 1 out of 3, or are you all 3? What are you going to do? And that's what these guys are doing. If you talk about any of these ideas and these people with these different businesses and this entrepreneurial spirit, Most of them don't have all three. They're collaborating in some shape or form. And I think that's where the hope, you know, for a lot of these younger Australians comes from. Like, I meet so many people with amazing ideas, right? And if I don't, you know, invest in it myself, I'll pass it on to a friend, or I'll tell them, whatever it is, you know, like there's some amazing people out there with amazing ideas. And there's some people out there, like we had a phone call. You guys don't even know this yet. We had a phone call, a lead come in last week on the website. And it's a guy that watches specifically the Property Pod and loves everything about the Property Pod. And he's like, I've got $20 million. I want to invest with you guys. That's the lead came in thinking it was maybe a coaching client, right? And then our salesperson gets on the phone with us and says, hey, so this is the way this conversation went. And I'm like, this is unbelievable, right? Like this is the stuff that you get out there when you start getting attention, right? And in my opinion, I mean, I'm doing a very average job of it at the moment because of how busy everything is. And that's my excuse. That's my story. Adam is doing a very good job of it right now, is building up that personal brand, right? Getting that attention. Because if we weren't on a pod, that guy would never know who we are. And that is back to the basics, right?
Adam, how old did you say those guys were?
They wouldn't even be 30. They're late 20s, I think.
Let's say they were 30, right? How long ago was GFC?
2020. These guys started in 2022.
No, 18 years. 2008, right? 18 years. So I think, and this is why people sometimes need to take a step back and just kind of challenge their worldview. And if those guys weren't old enough to understand the global financial crisis in 2008, and so the young crop that you've got coming up today, you know, from 13 to 30, call it, they don't have the baggage that the millennials have that lived through the financial crisis and now have these college degrees that are becoming useless. Like the stage that you come of age is so important to your global view. And I think that for millennials, that in general, we suffer from a lack of imagination and some scarring from the things that we've grown up with. Whereas these young guys, they don't have that scarring. These Gen Z, whoever these 13 to 20-year-olds are, they are going to be native to all of the current technology and to the new jobs that are created over the next 3 to 5 years. They're not going to have the baggage that the millennials have. And so it really takes a little bit of courage to kind of sit back and kind of look at why you're in the position you're in, and then say, okay, well, it's not really my fault because I've come of age during this time, but what can I do about it, right? And I cop a lot of flack in the comments. I've been reading everyone's comments, and every time I say, you know, instead of marching, sit at home and have this hard conversation in the mirror as to what you can do to change your circumstances. And I cop it every time. Mark, you're an idiot. You don't understand. You're a loser. But you can change. And if you just change your worldview, right? And if the worldview is we've been screwed, well, not a lot of great is going to come out of that. But if you can start thinking like a 26-year-old, or, you know, start putting yourself in having a following where weird people are contacting you, like people with $20 million, your worldview will change very quick, but based on who you hang around.
It's putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, right? I'm a perfect example of this right now. 2 years on, it's all good that we've got Unemployable and it's happening and it's a thing, and we've got the business coaching and we got property coaching and we got the Bitcoin stuff, all this stuff happening. But like, if Adam didn't approach me, right, 2.5 years ago or whatever it was, and said, hey, I've got an idea, right, and I think you'd be amazing to do this with me, and this is why, right? One, he had a belief and he's seen something that I didn't. And sometimes that's what it takes. It takes someone externally to see something and says, you know what, you've got something like that idea that you guys are talking about, which we're not going to talk about on this pod, right? Which James mentioned off camera. Like, I got so excited about that when that got mentioning, because I'm like, that is a thing. Like, Adam sends me things he just sent me something prior to this on Instagram. Check out this goal, right? And it's about Valuetainment and what they're doing. I'm like, that's a thing. We need to find that person. Right? We've got the idea. We've got the capital. We just got to find the executor. And sometimes it's someone externally that needs to see something in you to then go, hey, here we are 2.5 years later, probably even, 2 years, 10 months later from that initial conversation that Adam and I had. And we've created something out of thin air, out of an idea that was written on a book like this, that Adam and I were sitting down at a restaurant in Broad Beach, right, with these ideas, and look at where we are today. Now we're attracting this attention, and this is what people need to understand. We're no different than anybody else.
I'll give you the story.
Sometimes you need to take things a little bit personally as well. Like even if someone doesn't come and tap you on the shoulder like Adam did. Like I remember sitting at one of Adam's workshops, and Adam didn't know who I was. It was in Melbourne, and Adam, you delivered. I don't know if you remember it. You delivered. It was at a hotel, and it was like maybe it was the Platinum Partners or whatever, or it was just the one-day business talk, and you delivered this kind of 30-minute chat where you basically said, like, no one is coming to save you. It's up to you. If you want to get from this island to the next island, these are the things you got to do. You got to push through the pain. And you shared some of your own personal stories. And you weren't speaking to me directly, but I felt like I made eye contact with you at that event. And I felt like you were speaking to me directly. I chose at that event to take it personal, to take those words personally, and to really, do you know what I mean? Rather than to look externally, I chose to take those words personally. And that, I think that was a pivotal point. It changed my life. Like, I went and started a couple of businesses and then failed and went back to my job. But after that point, I said, never again am I going to go back to my job. And sometimes, you just got to take it a little bit personally.
It's giving yourself permission. And sometimes it can be just through a podcast that you could decide. And like, we attach the meaning to every message in life. The first thing is to hear the message, and then the second is to take it personally and give yourself permission. And I want to share about my meeting with Matt Cameron, because I'll tell you Matt's story, which really blew my mind. But just before we open that, I just want to give all of you who are listening, if you want to see, I think the best I've seen in a long time of idea capital execution, check out the boys at Ventor. I want you to see what these kids have created and are raising millions of dollars for from a concept. And they've got another one about to open in Cape Town. I met them for dinner last night. Then they jumped on the plane to their offices in Dubai. Got 300 plus staff, just savages. And their Instagram is Ventor, so Ventore. Is it Ventor Group? I think it's Ventor Group. Yeah, Ventor Group on Instagram. And just see what these guys do. It's mind-blowing. And what it does is it scares the shit out of you, because you realize I've got no excuses other than I'm just not as good as them, right? And that's where you get real, and you're like, I've got to step my game up. I've got to stop drinking, stop going and watching so much football, start reading, start networking, start getting myself into a opportunity-dense environment. If you're living in Dubbo, good luck. You have to move to the Gold Coast, or you need to move to Bali, or you need to move to Dubai. But if you want to play at the level these guys are playing, you got to get close to where they're at. And it starts with, I asked them last night, how did you guys meet? And they said, we met at Omni Gym, which is the gym that I put on my Instagram the other day. I said, you literally met at the gym? He goes, yeah, we met at the gym. And I'm like, what were you doing? He goes, I was in charge of the biggest pig farm in New Zealand. That's the CFO today. And then founder Nils was just approached him at the gym. And that's it. They became friends in the gym. And now they're on, I think they'll have $1 billion company. I really honestly believe this. I really believe that. So anyway, that's that. But I want to talk to you about Matt Cameron quickly. So for those of you who don't know who Matt is, Matt's the guy that he's been on all the big radio shows in Australia. He just came out of nowhere. He's 46 or 48, he told me yesterday. And the Daily Mail did a story on him. And he's basically the guy that left Australia. They sort of cast him in the media as millionaire from Sydney, relocates with his family to Bali, and says Australia's lost the plot, And 8 weeks ago, Matt had no Instagram account. One of his suppliers, because he does developments here in Bali, builds townhouses and things like that, villas. One of his suppliers said, Matt, why aren't you on your Instagram page? Why aren't you the personal brand? And his partner, Felicity, said, yeah, Matt, you should go on Instagram. They would love you because you're so loud and opinionated and obnoxious. And he goes, no. And he goes, and the guy said, look, you'll be able to sell your villas. It'll be good for business. And he goes, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go on there. And he says, I'll just be myself. But he talked to me about how when he started filming in coffee shops, he said, I felt like such a wanker and I'm standing by the side of the road and I felt like a dickhead in public filming myself. And then he said, I just decided, am I either going to go all in or not at all? Right. And he went in, and 8 weeks ago, had no Instagram followers. Today, he has 80,000 Instagram followers in 8 weeks. Right.
Holy shit.
He did a post last week that got him into all sorts of shit, which was, he said, here's why I would never do business with a fat person. And he got roasted for saying that. And he went through and he kind of regrets it a little bit because he said it didn't come out how I wanted it to, but my points are still valid. But anyway, this is a long way of saying I went around there yesterday to interview him, and I got on my scooter and I roll up and he's in this kick-ass villa, like a beautiful villa. It's just manicured. He's got 6 or 7 staff. He's got a chef. He's got the assistants for the kids. He's got all this stuff. And I just had an amazing hour-and-a-half interview with him. And then he said, come downstairs. I'll get the chef to make us some lunch. So I sat there with him and his partner, Felicity. And then we just shot the shit for another hour. And, you know, again, guys, is what Eric was saying. Here's a guy who stepped out of his comfort zone. And we were just sharing stories about the opportunities that have come to him through just putting himself out there and being in the public eye. And he's selling all his villas straight through his Instagram account. Opportunities coming left to right, and it ended with us sort of agreeing in principle that we're going to do a deal together on a particular project where I'm going to fund it with them. I'm going to do it together. So just wanted to encourage you again. It was just, do you guys have any questions about Matt or anything you want to know? Because it was pretty cool meeting him.
When's the pot drop?
Hopefully next week. It just depends on the schedule, but Jerome's editing it right now.
Right. Yeah, I noticed him probably about a month ago or so. Popping up on my feed, and then I started following him, and then I think it was someone, I don't know if it was me or Perry or someone put it in the chat going, this guy would be cool to interview, and you already were in contact with him, which is great. Again, it's just someone doing something a little different. One of the things that he mentioned on there with him moving to Bali, and I know people are going to be saying, yeah, about Bali, and this and that, and scooters and traffic and all this stuff, because you can have always the pros and the cons. But one thing he said, he goes, even with me not even making more money, I'm 3 times better off financially in Bali. And that includes chef, maid, assistants, all these types of people that you wouldn't have at your fingertips. Like, we're going to Dubai as an example. I'll go straight back to that, but this is something I want to mention. And I'm visiting one of my very, very good friends, right? One of my very good family friends for a long time. He's moved to Dubai with his family. And he's setting stuff up. Okay, we're going to book this beach club. You're going to come over to the house for a barbecue on this day. We're going to do this. He's like, I'll get my driver to pick you guys up from here. And then the driver will take us to the beach club, and the kids will stay here because we already have the nanny that'll take care of them, and the chef will cook them up. Like, this is the way he's talking. And he's talking normally. And I'm just like, Jen and I are on speaker on WhatsApp. And I'm just like, after the phone call, I'm like, this is his reality. Like, this is Matt Cameron's reality now, right? 6 months ago, it wasn't his reality. They had to make a difficult decision, like Adam's done, and said, you know what? I've had enough. I want to change. And this is the reality now, which is for someone like Mark and myself and James sitting here going, what would those 3-4 people cost you a year in Australia? You wouldn't do it because it's just the affordability of it is not there.
Can I share another just another anecdote that maybe puts this into perspective a little bit? It's very easy for Adam to pick up and go to Bali, and Eric and James, you guys as well could you have the financial means to just pick up and move to Bali at any time. There's probably people out there thinking, oh, well, easy for you guys, but what about me? Well, I can tell you that it's like, and I'm like, so I've got my sister and her husband, and they've just bought a house. They got the biggest debt that they've ever taken out. They've got some equity. Most of their equity is in their home, and they got equity in their super in their home. So all the equity's in their super in their home. So they don't have tons and tons of cash. They don't have a business. They have jobs here in Australia, and I've witnessed them over the last 18 months since Brooke's first podcast, basically going through the process of making this move. It hasn't just been click the fingers, we're going to go. It's like been an 18-month process. They're having to get new jobs. They're having to learn new skills in the remote workforce. they're having to make sacrifices to take on this journey. But in April, they're there. Their kids just got accepted in a primary school. And in April, they're doing it, right? And after a year or two, they're going to do it. Now, they might stay there a month. They might stay there 6 months. They might stay there 3 years. But I am so proud of them as you know, a family member, because I know that whatever comes after this is going to be hella positive for them, because they're making sacrifices and they're putting themselves through this experience that is only going to strengthen them and their bonds with their kids. And so, you know, it's not always easy. It's not always an easy decision to make these changes, but most times they're worth it. You don't find many people that say, I regret going on that adventure to Bali, or, you know, that other beautiful place where they had cooks and chefs and cleaners and everything. You know, like, if you can make it happen, it's worth the experience, I think.
One thing I like about Matt, and why I started following him and caught my attention, he says it how it is. No sugarcoating. Yeah. This is exactly why I did it. This is what I'm doing, and I've done it. And those are his beliefs. And when someone has that much conviction in their beliefs that they're okay to piss a lot of people off, I respect someone like that.
Make sure you watch the pod, guys, when it comes out, because at the end of the pod, I said, I was about to leave, and I said, I didn't want to ask because I thought it might be like, I didn't want to impose too much. But at the end, I said, mate, you can say no, but would you mind if we, like, because we did the interview upstairs in his office overlooking the grounds of the property. And I was just so impressed by the property, because a mate of mine used to be in that property, who's a very, very successful guy as well. And I said, mate, would you mind just downstairs here in this area, if we just filmed a little bit and just showed people this villa? Because people have this idea in their head that all the villas in Bali are shit and made badly and terrible. And this is a big, beautiful, properly built, stunning place. And he goes, yeah, mate, no problem. So we did a little tour downstairs around the pool and down the entertaining areas down the side. So that when the pod comes out, watch till the end, because right at the end, we do a walkthrough. I introduce you to his chef. I show you what she made for us. And I said, is Matt a good boss? Do you like working for him? She goes, best boss I've ever had. Amazing. I love Matt and Felicity and the kids. And you can see for yourself how the Balinese are, and they love it. And I, just as a side story, I made a decision to buy a house here this week. And I've gotten here and I've just gone, I've just met all these incredible people. Matt said, if you're going to buy a house, here's my notary, here's everything you need. And they've all been unbelievably helpful. And I got talking about the house that I'd found, this beautiful villa. And two people I know this villa. And it's an Australian designer that owns it, quite a famous guy from Sydney. And he's been here for 25 years, and it's a stunning home. It's been in Elle magazine and Home and Garden and all these fancy things. Anyways, I get talking to him and I said, mate, you know, if I buy the house from you, because here in Bali, like, it's a whole different experience. You follow the agent on a motorbike. I was going around with a French agent, and I wish I had a photo, and we go between houses and he's got a ciggy in one hand. He's driving on this French agent in Bali and then taking me to houses. So cool. Anyway, the owner was there, and I said, like, I love the house. I made an offer yesterday. I got to him, I said, how many staff you got? He said, I got 4 staff. I said, all right, I probably want to keep 2 of them because I'm going to live here and not rent it out. And I asked him about the price, and it was $400 a month for the staff that are there. It's $100 a week for the staff and a little bit more for the chef. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, to look after your house full time. If you do Airbnb, they're there on site. They clean it. They do everything. And I was just like, this is an unbelievable. It's 2 minutes from the beach. It's just that's why I bought it. Well, I'm hopefully going to buy it. So I'll let you know. But
Eric,
open your mind, guys.
Eric, when are we doing the Bali tour? I'm not coming to the Dubai tour, but I think the Bali tour.
We are. So this is something. This is something that we will continue to do with Unemployable. I'd like to do it every 6 months and doing tours around. Like I've already been discussing with the boys at Ventori. We're going to do a tour with them. Obviously, we're doing the Dubai one. I mean, Bali is a no-brainer, obviously, especially if, you know, Adam's going to be spending a little bit more time there and getting to know a lot more people. And this is what we want to bring to everyone, right? Like, we all live, and I realize it the more and more I say it, even myself, we live in this 5 to 10 kilometer radius every day, every week, right? And some people that love the routine, which the missus and I really don't like too much routine, but the ones that love routine, like I'm sure like James would love probably his routine as an example. It reminds me of a routines kind of guy. would be even within a tighter, right? Like James is probably living within literally a 1 to 2 kilometer radius, right? I'm probably living in a 10 kilometer radius because a bit more travel and where the offices are located and stuff, right? But you're doing that week after week, month after month. And this is why I want to bring these opportunities to people that want them. And it surprised the shit out of me when we said, hey, let's do, like, we literally organized the Dubai trip within 4 days. Like, hey, what do you think? Yeah, we'll do this. You know, a couple of mates wanted to go, and there's 60 people, and we had to cut it off. And there's many more people that wanted to come that couldn't. And they're like, please put me on the list for the next one. And this is something that we want to do because, you know what, we will force others to live outside their 5-10 kilometer radius. Like right now, when I'm talking to my mate from Dubai, and I'm talking to these boys on Zoom, and I'm listening to, we're talking to Adam. I'm talking to Adam on a daily basis. Like, you get inspired, and your things start to change in your mind, and your gut changes, and the discussions that you have with your wife and your partner and the kids start to change.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
Before we move on, because I want to talk about this 1% concept, Eric, that came out of the Dubai trip, and when Jack Henderson came in the studio, I want to loop to that. But just to close off on the power of personal brand, because Matt and I were sitting there talking about the power of Instagram and personal brand and different things. I want to share one really cool little, very quick thing I found. This is an Instagram account that appeared, right? And for those of you who want to look it up, it is Shadman. So SHAD man. So Shadman _vlog. Now, I don't know how it popped up in my feed. This guy is a Bangladeshi laborer in Dubai who started an Instagram account documenting life as a Dubai laborer building all the fancy high-rises and resorts. And you can see this one here. 14.2 million views. The next one, 5.2 million views. Wow. And you're literally seeing him. This is him here. Look, finishing his day, taking his shirt off in his shared accommodation, going down and washing himself in a bucket, getting his potatoes and peeling them, washing his clothes, right? I reached out to Shadman, right? He's got 25,000 followers now. He's got an email address for sponsorships, right? I reached out to him and said, dude, I don't know whether you speak English, but if you do, brother, can I have you on the podcast? Because I want to hear your story and shine a light on how you used a smartphone to build a following. Now, I was speaking about this to the boys at Ventor last night and said, how cool is this? And they said, you know what? He's not the first. In Dubai, because those guys are actually based in Dubai, the Ventor boys, even though their projects are here in Bali and South Africa and everything. And they said there's a guy in Dubai that did exactly that. He came in as $4 an hour labor or something, whatever they get paid. He got a smartphone, documented. He's now got the $100,000 YouTube badge. He's got a Dubai influencers visa. He's living in an economic zone, and he's become a full-on social media influencer. And he started as a laborer laying brick, as a, in the back of those buses that you see transporting the laborers. So what the hell is your excuse when you see this, right? Like, I just think it's extraordinary. And I was so excited. He didn't reach out back to me because I don't think he speaks English, but it just shows like people like me are super interested in having him on because I think that's such a fascinating story. Like, how cool is that?
That's amazing.
Yeah, so good. All right, so let's change gears quickly. We're going to throw this one to you, Mark. Give us the update on Tesla's humanoids because, guys, I think like Mark and I are of this belief, and in our private chat group this week, we've got a meeting on Thursday between myself, Mark, and another guy from Perth. We're toying with launching another show specifically about the emergence of AI and robotics and from an investment point of view. Because in my opinion, we are going to see the investment opportunity of a lifetime with robotics and AI and all the surrounding companies, like the companies making the gel type skin that goes over the robots, or the companies providing the actuators for the fingers and all this sort of stuff. I think there's going to change the world. So, and I think, there's going to be absolute fortunes made in the next 5 years. But Mark, maybe give us the update on the Tesla humanoid. give it a riff, and then we'll chat about it.
Yeah. So Adam, to your point, I've just been sitting in paperwork. Like, I'm actually starting to print things out that ChatGPT and Grok give me, and I'm starting to loop back to certain things, and I'm starting to build a framework for about 40 to 50 companies, because I want the 10Xs, I want the 100Xs, I want to invest in the big winners. I don't just want to trade. I want to take some of that money, set it, forget it, and I want to, you know, come back here in 10 years and look at this portfolio that's 100x. So I think the reason that we wanted to do this, the reason that I want to be involved in a podcast like this, is because it forces me to level up my research game. If you're going to then go and show that to a bunch of people, thousands and thousands of people, it's got to be tight, right? But with relation to Tesla specifically, and I do agree with you in relation to humanoid robots, right? From a high level point of view, I think the thing that people are missing with humanoid robots is, for companies at the moment, labor is an expense. It's an expense item on the balance sheet, and you have to pay for that labor in order to produce productivity. If you replace, and let's just look at it from the positive perspective, let's not go down the negative perspectives for the purpose of this conversation. But if you replace a labor force, a human labor force, with a robotic labor force, not only does that labor force become productive, it's also a capital item on your balance sheet. So in simple terms, what that means is that capital item can increase the valuation of your company. So there's going to be companies that have instant equity uplifts just because they can get productivity out of these capital items. With relation to robotics, there's China that's producing robots at the moment. But the talk is at the moment that they're kind of like disposable razors. The robots, the actuators, all the parts, they wear out very quickly. After a couple of uses, they wear out because they're not made quality. Here
like
in
our t-shirts.
In the US,
like our t-shirts.
In the US, I think there's about 4 companies, or in the globally, I think 3 in the US, 1 in Sweden or something. There's 4 companies that are kind of competing. 3 of them are private. So the only one that is really public at the moment is Tesla. Now, Tesla's been working on humanoid robots for a while now. They had Optimus 1, Optimus 2, and now I think they're about to launch Optimus 3. But they've had some problems from an engineering point of view. And I think, reading between the lines and hearing various people speak, I think Elon took his eye off the ball during the whole Trump election process, and he wasn't paying attention. Now, that's a problem because many people, including Elon, associate 80% of Tesla's value to these humanoid robots, right? And they had a lot of problems with the movements of the hands and whatever. Basically, Elon is back in wartime CEO mode. He's gone in and he's overseeing the humanoid robot program. And basically, they're starting from scratch. They pretty much had to re-engineer and start the whole thing from scratch to get it to where it needs to be. And 4 of the most important people on the humanoid robot program have left the company. Now, on face value, you look at it and you think, shit, their 4 most important people have left. That's not good. They've gone to Meta and other places. But Elon is now full-time on the job. And you've seen this happen throughout Tesla's history, SpaceX's history, all of his businesses. You see the pattern. Elon comes back, becomes full-time, 24/7 on a project. The key people leave, and then all of a sudden, success follows. So I'm super positive. I'm like pumped. It's no guarantee it's going to succeed, but I think Elon realizes the enormity of the problem and the opportunity, and he's devoting all of his brain cycles on this at the moment, and I'm really excited. And they're going to have a earnings call, I think, in November, and they've got an announcement tomorrow. I think they're announcing potentially a new Model Y, but you know, Tesla could be firing on all cylinders here over the next couple of months.
They're talking about a phone as well, right? They're talking about a Tesla phone potentially. Rumors.
I haven't even seen that.
They've threatened that phone for quite a few years now as well. Yeah, a long time. But I'm keeping tabs on it.
I think one of the reasons they're thinking about a phone now is because I think these communication devices are probably going to change over time. They might not even have a screen, right? Like with AI and the automations with AI, you might not even need a screen. And side note, Jonathan Ive, the guy who designed the iPhone, started a startup that I think OpenAI invested in like a $6 billion valuation. They're so tight-lipped. They're not talking about, they haven't released any information on what they're working on, but I believe they're working on a device that is going to be AI native that allows you to do everything you need to do.
They are. They are, Mark. It's OpenAI and Johnny Ive, who was Steve Jobs' right-hand man and head of design, who brought in the bubble back, the colored bubble backs on Macs. All the cool Mac products were Johnny Ive. And it's going to be an AI-first phone, and it will completely rethink what has been the best in the business, which has been iOS, and it's going to reimagine a phone. So that's going to be exciting.
So one more side point, and this is the kind of stuff that I think we would be talking about on the pod, like flat out. So one more side note is Elon Musk, always tongue in cheek, but there's always seriousness to it, has been going after Microsoft lately, subtly by he's hiring for his macro hard program. And so Microsoft is basically a software company, right? Like the software runs the world. So you want to do anything on your PC, you need Microsoft. So he's creating macro hard. And the concept behind macro hard is that it's like, I need to explain this properly. How do I explain it? So instead of having a software that is owned by somebody else that you have to run in order to do the things you want to do, macro hard allows you to create all the software that you need using AI. So you can create your own software, your own.
He thinks Grok is going to be able to basically replace Microsoft's entire suite of products. That's essentially what he's aiming for. That AI will be able to do everything Microsoft does, and he's calling it macro hard, and it basically wants to take them out completely, which is just an amazing thing.
Bill shouldn't have shorted his stock that time, eh?
No, I mean, look, the reason, guys, I'm trying to draw everyone's attention to these types of things is that we are moving into a world where I think like there's young guys like Ventor and different, business opportunities. But for those of you who are listening that might be feeling you're a little bit older and don't have the energy, and I would put myself in that. I don't want to start a business again, right?
Me too.
And I cheer on these champions that I've spoken about, but it's not me. But for the rest of you going, I don't have any money, or I don't have the whatever. This guy, Chris Camillo, which is what got us onto this track, Anthony Pompliano's big Bitcoiner, venture guy, interviewed this Chris Camillo, and I'd never heard of Chris. Chris turned 20 grand into 60 million investing in robotics and AI over, I think, 5 years. Was it?
No, it was over 17 years. So
17 years.
17 years. And basically everything that we've spoken about on this podcast, options, leverage, transition technologies, like going onto TikTok to learning trends, now robotics, now his big thing is robotics. He spent the last 17 years doing everything we've spoken about in this podcast to turn 20K into 60 what? 60 million?
And what he did say was, if I didn't eat out of, my wife was an avid shopper, it'd be well over $1 billion. He did actually said that. He did say that. It's an impressive podcast. That was my Sunday. I think I chewed through about 4 or 5 episodes, just like mind-blowing.
It's incredible. It just shows you the power of a narrow focus on like learning and investing. I think we're moving into a world where what you're doing, Mark, which is spending your days deep diving and printing things out and reading them and understanding and finding where the puck is going, is could be a very, very lucrative thing these days. Because as you said, with AI particularly, investing's been democratized. You can actually figure things out before institutions do if you find an area that you love. And I think robotics and AI is just such an interesting area.
Can I tell you guys another story? So Stanley Druckenmiller, before he now runs a family office, but before he went and ran a family office, he's renowned now as probably the best investor to ever do it. Never had a down year. Worked with Soros, worked with Scott Bessent, and he manages billions and billions of dollars as a family office now. So regarded as one of the best investors ever. He was on a Bloomberg interview, and he basically told a story about a time where he was listening to the Javier Milei speech in Argentina when he was elected. He saw the things Javier Milei was saying. He jumped onto Perplexity and he asked Perplexity, he said, what are the 5 biggest ADRs in Argentina? An ADR is like an Argentinian company that you can invest in from the USA. He goes, what are the 5 biggest Argentinian companies? And he bought them on the spot.
Interesting.
Bought them on the spot because he was able to connect the dots between what Javier Milei was saying and what that would do to the Argentinian stock market, currency, etc., and then used AI to find the companies, make the trade. Like even the best investors in the world, that's how they generate ideas. And then once they're in, they do further research, and then they build a thesis, and then they strengthen the thesis, or like that's how it's done.
I thought a really good one in that podcast with Chris Camillo and Pomp was when he said, I do all sorts of trades. Like I looked at the Sphere in Las Vegas, which was bleeding cash and not going anywhere. And then they announced they were going to put the Backstreet Boys in there. And he said, I bet that the Backstreet Boys are going to be a home run. So he took options on the Sphere. And he said, my return was like buku, like crazy return, because Backstreet Boys just sold out. And now they've got a whole other program done about the options that just by observing the real world. So it's absolutely fascinating.
Not just with AI, how he's places his trades and gets ultimate conviction is sits on TikTok for 4 hours a night.
Reading and underscore comments.
Correct. Are they getting engaged or not? Is this going to be a flop or not? It's quite,
so you know how Trump invested in Intel?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't look at any of Intel's financials, or I didn't do any like deep research into where their revenue streams come from. But one of the things that I'm aware of from a macro point of view is that, China wants Taiwan, and if China wants Taiwan Semiconductor, which is a chip fab, is in Taiwan. And so the piece of information that I was able to put together is that, one of the foundries that they have in the US is Intel. Now it's a struggling business. It went from like $60 down to like $18, but they can't allow it to fail because it's a factory that's already set up. They have to go in and fix it. So I bought like $15,000 US of Intel call options that expire next June. So I still got plenty of time on them. And then all this stuff happened. I'm up 700% on those options.
Yeah. It's the power of information, guys, and learning these basic skills, like learning how to trade an option, how to buy one, how to sell one, what an option is. And please, guys, don't be an asshole. Like I get that many DMs where people go, where do I buy Bitcoin, Adam? I'm like, do I look like Google to you? Do I look like ChatGPT? Or like, where do I buy Bitcoin? Or what's an option? Or what's the best way to secure this? Or how does that work? And I'm like, dude, I appreciate you reaching out. But, like people just ask in DMs, or ask big financial advice questions in DMs. And I'm like, have you been to ChatGPT and Grok and gone down the rabbit hole for an hour to understand these basic things? If you haven't, you're not serious. You've actually got to stop looking for people to save you and go do the work.
Grok and ChatGPT, I've been using Grok a lot over the weekend, and it's getting so good, especially for this deep research into companies and for assessing transcripts and then giving you like the most important key points. You can take, if anyone out there that has a slight curiosity or the interest has been piqued just a tiny bit, take the transcript of this podcast, throw it into Grok agent mode, throw it into Grok, throw it into ChatGPT agent mode, and say, what are the most important concepts that I need to understand, and how do I start on this journey if I want to do the stuff that the guys are talking about with relation investing? Can you give me a 6-week roadmap of the things that I need to learn? how to set up accounts. And you put your novice, you can say I'm a bare bones novice. I need help with like how to click the buttons in setting up accounts, whatever. Just put your level of experience in and ask it to give you a 6-week program on how to do what you need to do. And it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind.
I want to just pause on that, because it's learning how to learn. We spoke about this last week. Underneath this video or somewhere around it, if you're on YouTube, you can get the transcript. And at around the 50-minute mark, we started talking about this. So grab the transcript, cut and paste it into ChatGPT or Grok, and say, at around the 50-minute mark, one of the guys started talking about how he made 700% return buying options on IBM with Donald Trump getting involved. Can you read the transcript? Intel. Can you read the transcript, find that part, and explain to me in layman's terms what the guy actually did? And then start asking it questions like, what is an option? How do I get an option? Where's the best place to buy an option if I'm an Australian or wherever you are? And just start. This is how you learn to learn. And you've got to learn to be in the game in the future. And it's not just DMing somebody and saying, I'm a newbie here, smiley face. Can you tell me, are you selling any courses on Bitcoin? I'm like, no, stop buying courses. Start using AI. And fucking, you know what I mean? Like literally, I'm like, that's old conditioning. You don't need to buy courses. Can I show you one more chart?
Yes. Can I show you one more chart? And I think this is so relevant because you remember you guys won't remember because you're not that old, but when horses replaced automobiles, right? There was stories about people who would say, why do I need an automobile? I've got a horse and my horse goes faster than the automobile. But you can see that over time it reached a tipping point where everyone used the horses, no one used the automobiles. We are at that same tipping point. Anyone out that says, I don't know how to use ChatGPT or I'm not going to use it, you're going to be like someone using a horse to go down the street in 2025 very soon. It'll happen much quicker than that crossover. That was a 15-year crossover. This crossover will happen in 2 to 5.
The gap is going to be enormous, and you're going to see some of your friends are going to become superpower. If you've got a business, like what Mark said earlier, and I hope you heard what he said, but there's $110 trillion of expense sitting in businesses around the world that's marked staff, labor, right? And robots are going to come in and just take that expense out of these. Like if you're investing in a coffee shop, and the major expense of that coffee shop is staff, and if all of a sudden that 20 or 30% of revenue that disappears into staff goes straight into profit, what does that do to the value of the coffee shop?
Yeah, and the big thing, right, is there's two sides to it, like Mark said, right? And this is the side that a lot of people, and this is deeper thinking, right, is going, yes, that 30% is going to go direct to net profit, but then the value of the humanoid, the value of the robot that then sits on the balance sheet as capital, right? And the way that these companies are valued, the valuation then goes through the roof. So you're getting double, you're getting it on the profit and you're getting on the actual asset at the same time, because you got to remember there's a P&L and then there's the balance sheet, right? Obviously for the people that are listening, and both of those will be impacted positively. And not only that, it creates a moat, right? That if someone is doing that work and the competitors aren't looking at it, it will be so difficult for the competitors to try and catch up, because that company will just run away with the demand, you know, that for that product, which in my opinion, like you look at someone like Tesla as an example, you know, like they've been at the forefront of electric vehicles for a long, long time. And a lot of people think they're just an EV company, but there's so much more than that. Whereas you start looking at these other companies coming like BYD that are starting to take over the electric vehicle business and whatnot, and you're seeing them everywhere. But Elon has a different picture that is a lot more than just EVs. And it's, again, just taking it in that deeper learning and going, yes, there's this effect, but then there's also, what do you call it? The second and third order of consequences, right?
So, I mean, this could be a great use for Grok. Like, if you don't want to get fully into robotics and see these opportunities, it's just like thinking Tesla robots, the business model for Tesla is the first place they're deploying Tesla robots is, guess where? Tesla, right? So they're using them in their business first, and then they'll expand them. So what are going to be the first businesses and industries that make the most logical sense to order 10,000 Tesla robots as soon as they're available? So what businesses are those? Because those are the businesses that I would be buying stock in, right? Because right now they've got this massive expense line that's going to just disappear. So if you can use ChatGPT and logic to figure out who the nearest and soonest and the most likely to adopt are, work with ChatGPT and Grok and find out. Mark?
And you can go as crazy as you want with it, right? Like, my research has been showing me that one of the biggest bottlenecks to this AI and robotic future is going to be battery storage and power, because the power demands are going to be so great. Like, these robots, companies are going to want to make them work 22 to 23 hours a day. And so they're going to need to be charged. And that's going to, Elon's saying that there could be 2-3 robots per person. There could be 8 billion robots in the world. Consider the strain on the energy grid, right? Like, that's why you're seeing some of these miners and Bitcoin miners and stuff their prices start going through the roof, because doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, even the big shops, nobody has the models to forecast what comes next, right? You're better off looking at the trend and drawing a fucking straight line in relation to demand and usage, and you're probably going to get it closer than any of these top forecasters. They did it with the phones. That they always do it. They always under forecast because they're unable to see the shift. They're unable to think into the future. And now you've got the future that you can talk to help you see into the future, right? And you've got to get good at prompting it, and a lot of people say, oh, ChatGPT, whatever, it's just a talking parrot. It only gives me back what it already knows or what it's already seen. But you can prompt it in such a way to ask it to make links for you, right? And the whole game, everything that the US is trying to do, the US is trying to beat China one way. China is trying to have the most robotics, the most automation, and the US is going for artificial general intelligence, which means having these things think for themselves. And the reason that you're seeing so much money being spent on this is because it's like the Manhattan Project with the nukes. This is war, because whoever controls whoever controls AI is going to control the world. They won't need to fight a war. They will have economic control. Now, this war is going to be fought over the next 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. But the US is going for artificial general intelligence, and China is going for basically manufacturing dominance. And we're going to see who's going to win. But I guarantee you, there's only these two countries in the race, and they are going to throw everything at it to win. And you need to be there to pick up some of the spoils.
Yeah, great riff, Mark. It's exciting times, guys. And like 10 or 15 years ago, I was calling my mates up saying, hey, who wants to join an Amazon mastermind, when I was living in Los Angeles. And we get together once a month around the table and we'd share product ideas, and we all launched Amazon businesses, and ultimately Reliable Education was born a few years later as a result of those meetups, right? Right now, I think people should be having once a month roundtables talking about their best AI robotics investments that they've discovered, either first or second order removed from, okay, Elon's going to launch a shitload of robots. How can we make money in adjacent type of things? And I think the friendships that would be formed would be fun. And I think also to be such an interesting thought experiment. And while the rest of the country is watching maths, you guys are watching fortunes get made. Literally, I really do believe there are going to be people making a shitload of money. There's just so much interesting stuff out there. When you mastermind, right? You put together a group of people to create a mastermind. Who knows what comes out of it? So there it is, guys. That's it for another week. One fun fact I just wanted to data check that I saw this week, Mark. You'll like this one. In Iran, you can actually mine a Bitcoin because of their energy costs and government subsidies for $1,300 US. Yeah, true story.
How long
And
does it take?
I don't know. It's got it here. You can Google it and look it up yourself and do some
Is
research.
Is that your next trip?
Yeah, well, right, in Iran, you might not make it out of there, but
so you might want to close up a little bit. And
yeah, but it's just,
Are you sure?
You've got conviction, but not that much conviction.
I don't want to get in trouble. I've got Persian friends, but are you sure it's not a booby trap? Like,
no, it's interesting. So I heard this on a reel, and I just thought, these are the kinds of arbitrage information that somebody's going to make a fortune out of that little nugget. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Get thinking, get acting. We live in extraordinary times. And I hope you've enjoyed this pod. Like, subscribe, comment below, guys. Are you enjoying the random musings of the four of us? And if you are, let us know. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on Unemployable. Bye for now. Hey there. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Unemployable. If you'd like to watch another episode, just click there.